Hi guys, just going to show you a little thing with the eBosser that I've just found. This is my new little toy that I've had a couple of weeks now and I've really had fun and put it to the test. What we're going to do today is I've got this little die. It's a Marianne design. It's a nice little chapel. It embosses and cuts at the same time. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to use some gorgeous rainbow mirror card. When you get your eBosser, it will come with all your mats, your cutting mat, as you can see. I've really gone to town with mine. You get your embossing mat, as they call it, a shim. Your magnetic shim, your B board, your C board, your D board. And obviously you get your manual that tells you all your different things. Now, what I'm going to show you is... before I go any further, when you get these dies, you'll see on the one side you've got like a raised sort of edge. That's the part that cuts through the actual card itself. On the other side it's completely flat. Make sure that when you put your dies on your magnetic shim, you put them up the right way round, because I don't know whether you're going to pick it up or not. But here's a magnetic fridge magnet that I've now got in my possession in the shape of a chapel, because I put it on upside down. So, stick your die where you want it to. Get your cardstock. Like I say, I'm using some really gorgeous rainbow mirror board. Get your A mat. Place it over the top. And this is totally hands-free. There's no knobs for you to turn, no handles. It has got quite a weight to this, so it doesn't need any suction cups or anything to stick it to the table, because the weight in it will not make it move anywhere. When it comes to the end, it won't fall out. It will just stay there. So if your phone rings while you're in the middle of cutting something, it will just go to the end where it drops. It still stays in the machine, and then you just take it out. Take off your plate. And as you can see, that's cut it out nicely. Lift up your die. Make sure you don't disturb this piece of card. Remove your magnetic shim. Put it back onto your B board. Get your embossing shim, which is just like a piece of rubber. It will get messy. It's where the static picks up all your little bits and pieces off your card, but it will not affect the way that the machine works. Make sure they're all squared up and place it through. That's only moving because it's on the silk runner. I should have had me non-slip mat on it, but and it's handy when you're doing die cutting. Have a little stick pin or a pokey tool or something. Yes, there's a lot of static on those with the rubber. Just gently push the card through, and there you have your gorgeous chapel. And your stick pin is to get your little bits and pieces out. Now, a little tip that I've got for you, if it lets me do it, because I've just tried this once and it called me a liar, and when I was doing it earlier on it worked perfect. Because I don't have enough hours in the day, little tip I've just found: put your magnetic shim on, put your die on, make sure it's the right way up with the raised sides. Put your piece of cardstock, paper, whatever you're using. Now, if you find when you're cutting out dies, if it doesn't cut out completely the way it's supposed to without struggling to get the bits out, get a second piece of cardstock, any sort of, this is just like 260 GSM, put it between your B and your D board, and that little tiny bit of a raise is all it needs to give it a perfect cut. Get your embossing mat. Now, it doesn't tell you to do this in the book, but I've just tried it and it worked fantastically. And it saved one of the jobs that you have to do. When you're embossing, you will find that your board tends to warp one way or the other. Turn it over so you're doing it alternate sides to help keep the board straight. If the cardstock is too thick, it will stop and then your boards will start coming back out the back way. But as you can see, it likes it, so it's carried on doing it. Now, as you saw there, I didn't cut it first and then emboss it. I've done the whole lot all together. So that way I've got both the jobs done in the same time as it's taken to do, whoops, the one. Now, there's the one I've done first, the way they tell you to do it. And it's the only trouble with mirror boards, you get fingerprints everywhere. And that's the cheats version, this one, and the way they tell you to do it. And as you can tell, there's absolutely no difference at all. If you get the chance of having a cheat, use it, because it will be a godsend. Now, another tip for you. If you're using embossabilities, now let me just quickly get the manual. Now, this is the manual that you get with it. It tells you all your, these are just my little notes, it tells you your dies, folders, other brand dies. You can use any sort of embossing dies in these, as long as you find the right variation. I found that there's nothing in here that mentions your embossabilities, which is your folders. Now, I actually phoned them up and they turned around and said that if you go onto craftworldusa.com, it will give you a download of all the different dies that you can actually use. Now, this is an embossabilities folder if you haven't seen one before. Really nice, because you're getting two embossings in one. You got the beautiful, well, what looks like a bauble effect, for want of a better word. And then you got your beautiful sort of holly and your flowers and everything in that one. To do this one, you just close it, because as you see, there's your emboss and there's your deboss. To do this one, you just bring the folder completely over. So there's your emboss and there's your deboss. So to make life easy, we're just going to do the flowered one. Now you get your piece of card. Now what I've done is, if you're wondering what this is on the front here, I've actually made a note. Now on the website it tells you use the, let's split everything up so that way you find it easier. You use your D board, then you use your magnetic shim, then what I do is I use a thickish piece of card just to give it that little bit of a raised depth sort of thing. Then your bead plate, then your embossing card, your embossing wallet and the card. Make sure it's all lined up together nicely. Now on there I've got two pieces of A5 because the cardstock that I was using at that particular time, I found that putting a couple of pieces across the bottom, because the main of the pattern was at the bottom of the folder, it made it come out that bit better. So we're just going to do it as this is. Your embossing shim and your C board on top, not the A board. So line all that up together. Now, because it's gone past the end of that, that's why it didn't go any further, because the rollers wasn't picking it up. So now we take that off, and as you see, you've got a beautiful embossed